get from our root of truth that feeds us knowledge and the thought process to work out that knowledge into a greater knowledge and a greater knowledge of love, piggybacks and fills the mind's eye, it piggybacks on the root of truth, so the human will of the self in the mind's eye can then see the fear that goes into the heart, and the heart then becomes full of fear, that then travels back down to the seed and movement of truth, and takes over the movement, and makes then the self afraid of its own truth and its own emotional response, which is derived from the early childhood programming of feeling rejection as a child through it. When the child naturally expresses and then is rejected for that. And that comes in a lot of different ways. But first, let's get to this. So now, the human will of the self in the mind's eye is seeing its fear, feeling it in its heart, and it's paralyzing the heart from expressing the true nature of the human truth and emotion, which then goes back down into the root of truth and projects then into the mind's eye just plain images, as I explained before, replacing the natural thought process that would evaluate truth and love into pictures of this fear of loss as a result of that fear of loss as a result of that, and it just builds like that. There's no thought process in fear. There's only thought process in truth, and it's knowledge. Fear wants to do only one thing, and that's to separate us from our knowledge and our awareness and our human love through our emotional wisdom, which we discover love through. And it does so by putting these images of fear of loss in our mind, in our thought, paralyzing our hearts with fear, making it dark. In which case, it then lust, the first lust is born, and that's to remain safe from our fear. So when we're doing that, lust goes into the mind's eye, the lust of safety, and then into the heart, then into the root, and then back into the mind's eye. In which case then, the self must then, to meet these needs, to meet the needs of truth and its emotional response, because when we experience in the moment, we become aware of a truth through the experience, and that experience, that knowledge, has an emotional response. In which case, then we have to work through that through the expression. The expression meets the need of the emotional self, meets the need of the truth in the self. But when that's not happening, because the heart is filled with fear and then paralyzed with fear, lust is created. Lust is fuel. It fuels the self to then become dark and need its needs from being fed truth and knowledge and emotion and love and fullness from the self acting, calculating its thought with the sacred feminine element of the God Spirit. What's it? There are still needs that are left undone. So the self, inside its heart, still has those needs. Because truth and love are still in the heart. It's just that fear is overwhelming the heart in the present moment. Where if the self expresses it, it eliminates the power of fear. And damn near gets rid of it in the moment. But when the self is in a lustful state to remain safe from its fear, those needs are left unmet, where the self then has to figure out a way to meet those needs in hidden darkness. Other lusts come into play. The lust to lie. Lie about the truthful self. truthful emotional self. Put up a smoke screen. Surface coat it. Put up a false persona of the self. Cheat. Manipulate. Steal trust by lying. And when that happens, emotional wisdom, the self then begins to rate of itself. I explained this before, but quickly. The self then has to deal with its own emotional wisdom to find out where its own weakness is and what it itself needs to feel trust in order to feel safe, in order to trust. So that's the self. Fear-ridden self rates its own emotional wisdom and then looks for it in other people to speak words that sound like truth, but they're not intended for truth. They're intended to find out where the other person's weakness is. So you can say words again after you understand a weakness in the other person, so you can then speak those words of acknowledgement and trust to rate their emotional wisdom, to earn that trust, to get your needs met. We have all done this. I'm sorry I'm saying we all. All of us. We all do this because of the early childhood conversion from rejection. The lust. Self meets that need, it gets away with it, it runs away out of that relationship in the moment, gets a temporary high, but now the heart is filled with lust and fear, replacing the God Spirit, love, and the spiritual fullness you get from truth. It's a really good idea to know what that spiritual possession feels like. It's good. We already do have an idea in how truth and the acknowledged emotional self feels its fullness when self knows that they're going to be acknowledged for the expression. That feels good. And we see it in children when they're acknowledged instead of rejected. We see it in ourselves and our human relationships. When we feel acknowledged, it fills a heart full of joy, love, and innocence. But to know specifically how evil uses fear to possess first the mind's eye and then the human heart, to take it over and take it away, take the human will of the self and the heart filled with emotional love and fullness away from the God Spirit. To know that is a simple exercise. If you want to follow me in the next few seconds here, trust me for a second and just follow what I'm about to say. Think back, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and know that you're going to be safe. Evil has the power of possession in the heart with fear, and that's it. If the self in its human will allows that fear to possess heart, then you're in trouble with your lust factor that comes in as the result of that, and how we act through that. That's the only time you get in trouble. And I need then to become accountable. And there's a lot of things I don't understand about accountability, but I do know about the middle. It says so right in the Gnostic Bibles. God can't let darkness into his perfect realm. That's why the middle is there, because we have a middle space in our forethought, where both are considered truth, intellectual knowledge, emotion, and plus the fear and the lust. That both are considered there, where our human will then has to choose which path to follow.